Hello and welcome. I'm Sophie.
And I'm Erin.
And today we're going to tell you about how experience can change our perspective.
Using 6 different novels.
Throughout the story, Holden endures many new and seemingly phony experiences as he travels through New York. His inability to accept and embrace the adult world when he's faced with it is the cause of his downfall. Only when he's able to accept and immerse himself in the adult world is when at the end of the story, he will be able to pick himself back up again.
Midway through Holden's journey, he encounters a prostitute, Sunny, and has the opportunity to have sex with her. When Sunny pulls off her dress, Holden says, "I certainly felt peculiar when she did that. I mean, she did it so sudden and all." This portrays Holden's unwillingness to face the fast-approaching adult world, causing him to send Sunny away. This pushes him further into his isolation, stunting his mental and emotional growth.
Also, when Holden meets the nuns, it doesn't help his situation. He compares the nuns and the people in his own life, saying, "That was what I liked about those nuns. You could tell, for one thing, that they never went anywhere swanky for lunch." By Holden seeing the nuns' isolation and how they were such good, genuine people, Holden reinforces his belief that by entering society, like the people he knows, it will turn him into a phony. This feeds his stubbornness and unwillingness to open up to the world.
By isolating himself from society, Holden continues to add to the snowball effect that was his journey through New York, which quickly plummeted to the ground. Once he accepted the change through the FUs, he was able to collect himself again.
So in a separate piece, Leper Lepellier portrays how quickly one can change from being innocent to falling into corruption. In the beginning of the story, before Leper goes to war, he's very peaceful and doesn't really care about what other people think of him. He's oblivious like a child. Who does he think he is? The abominable snowman? Did you find the damn leper? You know what? I did find it. His smile was wide and unfocused, as though not for me alone, but for anyone and anything who wished to share this pleasure with him. Leper does not take the other boy's snide remarks into account and continues to be happy with himself, which will change after he comes home from the war.
Once Leper comes home from war, he's changed in that he is self-conscious and paranoid. "You're thinking I'm not normal, aren't you? I can see what you're thinking. I see a lot I never saw before." Leper's voice fell to a querulous whisper. "You're thinking I'm a psycho." By exposing himself to the war and horrors of men, Leper changes and becomes corrupted.
Ellie is changed by the evil that surrounds him in the story Night. He first encounters this evil when a young, innocent boy is hanged in the concentration camp. Ellie changes as a person as he loses his faith because of the large role it played in his life before he went to the camp. When the young boy was hanged, Ellie loses much of his faith in God. Behind me, I heard the man asking, "For God's sake, where is God?" And from within me, I heard my voice answer, "Where is he? This is where, hanging here from this gallows." This loss of faith and change of character continues throughout the story as he witnesses more atrocities.
Due to a loss of faith changing who he is, Ellie experiences a change of character through the emergence of survival instincts that result from the abuse in the camp. As the story goes on, it becomes more and more survival-oriented, to the point where it, at times, overcomes familial love. Near the end of the book, Eli saw many sons turning on their fathers for food and drink, and he hoped that that would never happen to his father and him. However, when the father finally dies in the camp, Eli feels relieved that he doesn't have to care about him anymore. "I did not weep, and it pained me that I did not weep. Deep inside me, if I could have searched for the recessness of my feeble conscience, I might have found something like free at last."
Therefore, by exposing himself to the evils of man, Ellie is changed forever.
Cash is pretty much the only major character in As He Lay Dying that really understands how important balance is in life. In the beginning of the story, Cash is on one far end of the spectrum of balance, being very mathematical and linear, and does not have an intellectual or thoughtful side at all. However, his experience with his family changes that as they go on the absurd journey to bury Addie.
Linear thinking in the beginning of the story can be represented by the way he talked in his first monologue. 5. In a bed where people lay down all the time, the joints and seams are made sideways because the stress is sideways. 6. Accept. 7. A body is not a square like a cross tie. 8. Animal magnetism. Cash thinks in numbers and steps, leaving out the important part in life: abstract concepts and intellectualism.
However, by the end of the story, Cash becomes balanced. Sometimes I think it ain't none of us pure crazy and ain't none of us pure sane until the balance of us talks in that away. Here, Cash not only talks in complete sentences, unlike in the beginning of the story, but he explains balance, which he has learned about through the absurdity of his family, especially Darl. Cash's journey to find balance can be compared to Darl's journey of losing his sanity, and therefore unbalancing himself even more than he already was.
Cash's experience through the absurd journey of his family to bury his mother was essential to opening his eyes to seeing how important balance is in life, and therefore making him much more balanced.
Everyone wants to be loved, everyone wants to be cared for, and everyone wants to be valued. These desires drive Harry's action in the river. In the story, Harry's perspective on his own life is changed when he goes to the river and is baptized, making him feel valuable for the first time in his life. He saw his mother close to him in the dark. He said, "I'm not the same now." He muttered, "I count." So this depicts Harry's newfound perspective on his own life and how he thought he didn't count before he was baptized. However, his misunderstanding of the concept of baptism was the cause of his death, in which he drowned in the river after returning to escape the feeling of being unwanted.
Older men declare war, but it is the youth that must fight and die. This quote by Herbert Hoover discusses the ignorant nature of war and the way it destroys youth and innocence. Mary O'Hare, the wife of one of Vonnegut's war friends, explains this idea when she says, "And war will look just wonderful, and we'll have a lot more wars, and they'll be fought by babies, like the babies upstairs." Mary O'Hare is concerned with the glamorous war-loving society, and how that forces not only her children, but thousands of children to face evil and become like the old men that declare war.
Kurt Vonnegut is also an example of how war can change a person. Vonnegut often talks in the first chapter about how his breath smelled of mustard gas and roses after the war. This stands for the stain of war that will forever mark him. The nature of Vonnegut's book as an anti-war novel shows his changed attitude as boys are eager to enter war before and then become anti-war when they experience the clash between history and romance.
It's time to wrap things up.
Perspective is always changing based on our experiences.
This can be seen in the novels we've previously discussed. Interaction with others and the sharing of ideas and beliefs help us to grow as people, changing our perspective on the world around us.
As people grow up and lose their innocence or become corrupted, their views on right and wrong also change. Also, exposure to evil can taint one's mind and cause him or her to think about things in a different way, depending on how he or she coped.
By balancing ourselves, we can see the world through different lenses, causing one to grow and become more open-minded to the ever-changing world.
A change in beliefs and ideals can also affect how we interact with people and how we cope with change.
Finally, exposure to man's greatest horror, war, influences how one perceives man in the society he lives in.
That sums it up. Thanks for watching.